¿Cómo estás?
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, soy Frank.
Bien.
Hola, un placer. Es una belleza, ¿no?
Hablas por
es.
sí misma, ¿no es así?
Es realmente hermosa.
Para que nos conozcan un poco, ambos coleccionamos motocicletas clásicas, sabemos lo importante que es colocar las piezas correctas, encontrar el extremo superior original, encontrar los tanques adecuados.
Es difícil conseguir las piezas originales. Esa es la
¿Están
clave de
interesados
esto.
en motocicletas viejas?
Sí, soy
Sí,
vicepresidente de motocicletas Indian fuera de Minnesota.
Y de pronto estoy hablando con el vicepresidente de la empresa de motocicletas Indian. Este día se ha vuelto mucho más interesante. De acuerdo, déjame darte otro
Ahí
apretón de manos.
tienes.
Un gusto.
Frank.
Un placer.
¿Qué haces
Soy
tú?
el director de diseños para motocicletas Indian.
¿En serio?
Sí.
¿Está bien? Frank y yo pensamos que queríamos atraer a entusiastas de las motocicletas Indian a esta locación, pero nunca pensé que esto sucedería. Estoy pensando que Frankie es un genio. Ya ves lo que dice el letrero, $40,000.
O mejor oferta.
Sí, o mejor, sí.
Sí, lo sé, yo escribí eso
Bueno,
allí,
unos
amigo.
$30,000. Sería un buen número para esta
Amigo.
motocicleta, ¿no?
Esto es increíble. Esta motocicleta es una pieza importante de la historia de las motocicletas. Y yo estoy aquí negociando con los sujetos que son los jefes de la empresa original. Pero a pesar de esto, no estoy preparado para perder dinero. No estoy deslumbrado. Pediríamos 35,000 por ella.
¿Qué piensas?
Podemos ofrecer 35,000.
¿35,000?
Sí podemos. ¿De
Es
acuerdo?
un trato, amigo.
Gracias,
De
¿De
chicos.
acuerdo?
La magia de Sturgis.
Muchas gracias.
Mike, quitemos esto.
Retire el aviso.
Retíralo.
Muy bien. Tomaremos la 35. Iremos a las principales giras de Norteamérica. ¿Qué tal si nos acompañan? Les daremos
De
un
acuerdo.
cheque. Queremos que los admiradores de motocicletas puedan ver y disfrutar de esta motocicleta.
¿De quién fue la idea de restaurarla?
Ah, limonada, Frankie.
¿De venir a Sturgis? ¿De ubicarnos cerca de la tienda de Indian? Este chico. ¡Ching!
Oh, lo voy a sacar.
Es genial.
Me encantan las cosas antiguas de Frankenstein. ¿Sabes quién lo tenía, cierto? El zorro plateado, Dave
¿Dave?
Hort. Sí tenía uno en su estuche, junto a su silla en el recibidor. Uno de los juguetes que tenía Dave era este juguete de Frankenstein. Fue la primera vez que vi uno de estos, así que tengo una conexión con él. No por jugar con él cuando era niño, sino por verlo por primera vez en la casa de Dave. Y en ese momento fue donde me enamoré de él.
Sabes, el rostro luce muy bien.
Sí.
Un poco feo,
¿Cuánto
pero...
pedirías por esto? Cielos.
275.
Es genial y lo único que le falta es el fondo,
no,
pero...
tienes la parte buena.
Sí, pero debo tener el fondo.
No, solo pones las baterías allí y haces
Muy
así.
bien, lo llevaré,
Con cinta
es genial.
adhesiva.
No importa por qué te conectes con algo, lo que importa es que te conectes con eso.
Buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos. Para una mejor experiencia, les solicitamos por favor que mantengan sus micrófonos muteados. Todo el material que presentaremos puede ser utilizado para difusión y promoción. Muchas gracias y que disfruten el evento.
Muy buenos días y bienvenidos a otra gran sesión de un evento de prensa virtual para todos y cada uno de ustedes. Gracias a toda la prensa de Brasil, Argentina, Colombia, México y toda América Latina que nos acompañan hoy. Hoy celebramos ni más ni menos que 10 años con American Pickers. Son 17 temporadas y en julio tendremos el episodio número 300. Pero además tenemos una noticia muy importante. No escucharon mal. Sí, todos y cada uno de ustedes pueden grabar lo que quieran. La intención es que puedan usar este material de sus series favoritas para promoverlas, para difundirlas y para hacerlas más famosas todavía. Porque dependemos del apoyo de ustedes para que estas series sean conocidas y reconocidas en todo el mundo, pero especialmente en toda América Latina y Brasil. Y ahora, para presentarles más novedades y más comentarios de lo que debemos esperar el día de hoy en este evento, les presento al presidente y gerente general de A&E Networks Latinoamérica, Eduardo Eddie Ruiz.
Gracias, César. Muy buen día a todos y gracias por acompañarnos como siempre, por por su apoyo. Hoy es un día muy especial porque contamos con dos personajes, dos figuras que son icónicas para nuestra pantalla en History. Como mencionó César, llevamos 10 años transmitiendo Cazadores de Tesoros a través de toda Latinoamérica. Ya el próximo mes se cumple el episodio 300. Yo me siento afortunado y todo el equipo estamos afortunados porque sabemos que son pocos los canales de televisión paga que tienen series con una duración y con 300 episodios. Mucho de esto se debe obviamente a los personajes. Hoy con nosotros van a conocer a Frank y Danielle. By the way, I'll do a little bit in English just to say hello to Frank and Danielle. That soon they're
Mike.
Frank, I'm sorry. I get, you know what happened, and I'll do it in Spanish and
So
English.
you know, everybody knows that it's a live event, porque puedo corregir a mi jefe en vivo.
It's live. And you make mistakes in live TV. And you know what happened is that I met Danielle and Frank in an upfront in the Dominican Republic in Punta Cana. I think it probably about 6 years ago, maybe even more, maybe even 7 years ago. And I have never met Mike, and today's the first day. So Mike, thank you for being with us. Danielle, my love, always a pleasure to see you and to have you with us. We're going to have about 200 journalists that are all super anxious to ask you guys questions. We're talking about, your durability. You guys have been with us for 10 years. We're going on episode 300 in Latin America. There's this fascination with making money from objects that are just, for some people don't mean anything, and for others, they're very valuable. And I think that you guys started a trend in television when you started with the History Channel in the US, and then you came with us in Latin America. So thank you for being with us. I'm going to switch to Spanish now for a second. Y a todos ustedes que nos acompañan hoy, de verdad, sumamente afortunados de poder compartir y estar con Mike y con Danielle en el día de hoy. Espero, les vamos a mostrar un corto video sobre cómo comenzó el programa, cuando hicieron el piloto de la serie, y cómo estamos hoy después de 10 años, casi llegando al episodio 300. Así que espero que lo disfruten. Muchas gracias.
En el 2010 nació un show que trataba de dos amigos recorriendo la ruta en busca de antigüedades. En cada lugar al que llegaban, descubrían diferentes personajes, hurgaban dentro de galpones, sótanos, áticos y despensas, hasta que encontraban algún tesoro para coleccionar, restaurar o revender, y así una y otra vez. Pero, ¿cómo este programa llegó a convertirse no solo en un éxito, sino en un clásico de History? Echemos una mirada al pasado para descubrirlo. Esto es 20 años de History Clásicos.
Aquí estamos, Frank y yo, conducimos toda la noche por carreteras rurales.
El programa empezó cuando, después de viajar mucho alrededor del país, a Mike se le ocurrió la idea de mostrar a las personas y sus historias.
¿Qué opinan? ¿Quieren dar un vistazo?
Teníamos una cámara y empezamos a grabarnos.
Cuando íbamos en la carretera, yo grababa a Frank y él a mí. Cuando aparecíamos los dos, es porque le pedíamos a quien le estábamos comprando que nos grabara, o a su esposa. ¿Me veo en la escena?
Sí, ahora te ves.
Y fue en ese momento que surgió la idea de un programa de televisión. Me he sumergido en basureros, manejado en callejones, he hurgado en pilas de rocas y objetos oxidados, toqué puertas.
La idea era muy clara, la trama también, pero había un pequeño problema.
Estuvimos 5 años intentando venderle el programa a History, y cuando finalmente lo logramos, les pregunté si lo llamarían Cazadores de Tesoros, y me dijeron que no, porque nadie sabía lo que eso significaba, y yo les dije, expliquémoslo.
Los directivos de History aceptaron la propuesta de Mike, sugiriendo que el mejor lugar para esa explicación era la apertura del show.
Viajamos por las carreteras buscando
oro oxidado.
No recuerdo ahora.
La apertura surgió de forma natural.
Viajamos por las carreteras buscando reliquias oxidadas escondidas en graneros y garajes.
Perfecto.
Buen trabajo.
Amigo.
No lo leí, lo tenía todo aquí.
Lo sentiste, ¿no?
Oh, sí.
¿Lo sentiste?
Muy bien.
Con la apertura terminada, llegaba la hora de salir a la ruta a grabar el show. Pero una cosa era grabarse a ellos mismos.
Me gustan estas latas, aunque a la mayoría no le gustan porque son grandes.
Y otra muy diferente era protagonizar un verdadero programa de televisión.
Frank y yo pasamos de grabarnos a nosotros mismos mientras recorríamos las carreteras a tener un equipo de 14 personas. Cuando comenzamos a hacerlo, era imposible porque nadie nos abría la puerta. Y cuando lo hacían, pensaban que habían ganado alguna especie de concurso por todas las personas que estaban con nosotros.
Compramos un poco
No,
de...
gracias.
Rápidamente, Frank y Mike se acostumbraron a las cámaras. Pero antes de seguir con esta historia, retrocedamos aún más en el tiempo.
Tengo todas estas notas de las personas y, de hecho, tengo bastantes aquí. Solía hacer todas las investigaciones, pero cuando el programa se vendió a History, me preocupó cómo iba a continuar haciéndolas si voy a estar frente a la cámara. Así que busqué a Danielle y le dije, quiero que trabajes con nosotros. Y ella respondió, por supuesto.
Hola, Brian. Sí, es Danielle de Antique Archaeology.
Cuando vino a grabar el primer día, recuerdo que había muchas personas.
Solo hazlo como lo harías naturalmente.
Bien. No sé.
Vamos a arreglar esto para que se te vea mejor la cara.
Y evolucionó muy bien frente a las cámaras porque tiene una personalidad increíble. Es muy dulce y es una persona que tenemos que grabar.
Conocí a Mike en una venta de garaje. Ambos vimos la misma lámpara. Yo la tomé y tomé asiento un momento para ver cuánto dinero tenía en la cartera. Y él llegó detrás de mí y la tomó. Y le dije, oye, yo la iba a comprar. Y él dijo, bien, se compra cuando se ve.
Sea una lámpara antigua, un muñeco gigante de publicidad o alguna colorida lata vieja, todos los objetos a los que estos cazadores echan el ojo esconden la historia de una época que revive en cada cacería.
¿Qué puedes decirnos sobre esto? ¿Dónde la conseguiste?
En Japón. Yo estaba en las fuerzas de ocupación.
¿Durante la Segunda Guerra Mundial?
Sí.
Entonces, ¿estuviste allí luego de que lanzaran la bomba?
Sí.
Cuando viajamos es maravilloso escuchar tantas historias increíbles sobre estas personas y sus colecciones.
Comisionado Gordon, aquí Frank Fritz. Hola, ¿cómo está, señor Chanel?
No creo que se ponga mejor que esto.
El único motivo por el que el programa se ha mantenido tanto tiempo es porque se trata de todos nosotros. Si fuese solo para coleccionistas, no hubiese durado tanto.
Cuando llegaron a History por primera vez hace casi una década, nadie podía haber adivinado hasta dónde llegaría su éxito. Hoy, Cazadores de Tesoros sigue estando tan vigente como cuando comenzó y ya se convirtió en un clásico de nuestra historia.
Bueno, y ahora vamos a continuar con el estratega, nuestro VP de Programación y Producción Original para History, Miguel Brailovsky.
Gracias, César. Buenas tardes, buenos días a todos por acompañarnos. Hoy es uno de esos días en que nos enorgullecemos de nuestra propia historia. Cuando History lanzó hace 20 años, nos propusimos esta misión de hacer a la historia relevante y entretenida para toda la región. Y con el tiempo nos damos cuenta que lo que ha logrado ese objetivo es este grupo extraordinarios personajes que representan esa conexión con la historia. American Pickers, Cazadores de Tesoros, es sin duda una de las series que nos ha acompañado en la gran parte de la gran mayoría de nuestra vida en América Latina, junto con El Precio de la Historia y junto con otras grandes series. Y cuando vemos qué tienen en común series que han prevalecido en el tiempo durante tantos años, acompañado como íconos de la programación de History, es justamente las características personales de estos increíbles personajes que han sido los abanderados, que han sido los embajadores de la marca y de la pasión por la historia durante tanto tiempo. Hay muy pocas series en la historia de la televisión que se den el lujo de llegar a 300 episodios y estar en más de 10 años en el aire en forma ininterrumpida. Y es por eso que hoy tenemos el orgullo de este homenaje de los 10 años de Cazadores de Tesoros. Es un orgullo inmenso Mike, a Danielle, por supuesto, Frank como parte de este ecosistema de increíbles personajes que, de vuelta, cumplen con la misión de History de acercar a la audiencia que tal vez no tiene una conexión directa con la historia a un universo que a través de ellos podemos descubrir. Así que, sin mucha más introducción, me encantaría presentarles un adelanto de los próximos episodios estreno de la temporada número 17 de Cazadores de Tesoros.
Mike y Frank viajan. Conocen muchos coleccionistas y llenan su camioneta una y otra vez con objetos e historias. Cazadores de Tesoros. Nuevos episodios todos los martes a las 10:35 de la noche. Disponible en History Play y History On Demand.
Y ahora es el momento de presentarles al único, al innovador, al creador y ese cerebro detrás de esta serie con esa personalidad inolvidable que lo convierte en una figura y un character-driven series que se llama Mike Wolfe.
Hello, thank you.
Hey Mike, how are you?
I'm doing very well.
Finally, we have the chance to talk. It's a pleasure for us to have you here. So let's go to the point. Once upon a time, you have an idea. You even make a pilot. How was the process before it became a series for history?
It was a long, lengthy process. I pitched the show for 5 years. And really, when I was pitching the show, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what a treatment was. I had no idea what a sizzle reel was. I was just kind of filming Frank and I on our journey when we were on the road together. I knew it was something special because of the people that we came across and the items that we found, but it was really trying to figure out a way to package the content in a way that could make it into a television show, meaning a format. So for years, I was pitching the show for 5 years without a format and never really understanding how to create one. A format basically in television is when you have like all these leaves, but you have no tree. So I had no tree. I had Frank and I on the road filming, but I had no idea of like how to actually package it into a show. And that was one of my biggest difficulties for a number of years and why a lot of networks turned it down.
Well, as you know, we have people from around Latin America, from Colombia, Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, Peru, Ecuador, Chile, who are going to have the chance before we end this hour to ask you the proper questions. However, we have simultaneous translations, so don't worry about the language. Everybody's going to get everything that you're saying. Now, we want to know which one was the most outrageous thing that you ever found.
I mean, the most interesting things for me that I've ever found have always been transportation related. Obviously, American motorcycles. I've found motorcycles in the past that people didn't even know existed anymore. So if you look at the history of American motorcycles, you know, there were almost 150 brands before 1920. So a lot of those companies were around for a very short time. And so there's never been an example of any of them found. So there were a couple motorcycles called Bradleys. There was a guy named Charles Bradley in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, that was making motorcycles. And up until the point that I had found a couple of those, no one in the hobby had ever actually seen one. We'd only seen them in photographs and catalogs and maybe read an article that was written in a motorcycling magazine in like 1905 or 1910. So once an item like that is found and collectors can put their hands on it, then they can almost study it like it's an artifact. They can study it like an artifact of American transportation history and learn from it. And then obviously the value of something like that is tremendous because it's the only one in the world at that point.
It's so clever that you are able to combine entertainment, business, and history. That's why everybody loves your show so much. But you have a partner, Frank, you traveled with him for more than 20 years. You're friends. How is that relationship, and how good of a road trip friend is Frank after all?
I mean, Frank's one of those guys that you take on a road trip and he tell you the same story over and over again, and you're going to enjoy it because it's so entertaining to hear it from him. Before the show, I always told Frank, I said, you know what, you could do stand-up because you have comedic timing is just something that's not been learned by him. It's just, you know, the way the guy came out of the chute. He's a very funny individual. He's got a lot of little quirks and nuances to him. I've known him since 8th grade, and we traveled together for a number of years, a lot of years. And we were really, we had the same passion, but we collected different things, which was awesome for us both to travel together because we each were helping with we were helping each other with our collections, meaning like I had an extra set of eyes in a barn, and so did he with what the things that we were looking for. He's got a big heart. He's very funny. I think he's a huge asset to the show.
And we happen to agree. Now we are going to watch a video so everybody can get to know what Mike is bringing for the next season.
Érase una vez un niño llamado Mike que iba todas las mañanas caminando al colegio porque su familia no tenía dinero para comprarle la bicicleta que él tanto deseaba, hasta que un día se encontró con una en la basura.
Era uno de los días de sacar la basura y estaba caminando y encontré una bicicleta de niña. Estaba impresionado porque alguien pudiese botar una bicicleta y pensé para mí mismo, si alguien puede botar una bicicleta, ¿qué más podían botar?
A pesar de querer tanto una bicicleta, Mike la vendió por $5 y a partir de ese momento nunca más se detuvo.
Por eso empecé a revisar siempre la basura para ver qué más podía conseguir. Desde ese día me la pasaba revolviendo a la basura.
Mike encontró en la basura la pasión por la cacería de tesoros. Cazadores de Tesoros. Nuevos episodios. Domingo a las 11:30 de la noche. Disponible History Play y History On Demand.
Mike, but was not enough to have your best friend as a road trip partner. You also brought someone else that you met in a sort of a garage sale. So I'm going to present a promo to everybody before we get to the point.
Okay.
It's about Danielle. So let's go with the video, please.
Sí, es Danielle de Antique Archaeology. No suelo recolectar con los chicos. Ellos siempre recorren las vías juntos y yo a veces voy con ellos. Resulta divertido, me encanta. Me gusta coleccionar antigüedades, burlesque, cualquier cosa de ese tipo o relacionadas con el mundo del espectáculo. Creo que es muy divertido. Creo que el óxido te cuenta la historia. Es como cuando hablas con alguien de 40, 50, 70... Tienes una conversación más redonda con alguien que es más maduro, tiene más que contar, hay más historia allí. Creo que es la misma sensación.
It is about time that someone dares to set the record straight and clarify this situation that have been lasting for years. What really happened with that lamp? The garage sale, the lamp. Who was the first one who saw the lamp and had the right to keep the lamp? Danielle, go for it.
Yeah, both hands up. Both hands up. But hey, listen, first of all, Mike, we look so young. We didn't have gray hair or double chins back then. That's crazy.
I know, it's crazy.
You know, I know. Yeah, so, okay, let me just set the record straight, okay? We were across the street from my parents' house. You know the one up on the hill? That crazy brick house they lived on the hill, Mike? Yeah, so we were across the street from there, and we were at a garage sale, and I picked up the lamp, and I set it down, and he came up right behind me, and he picked it up. And I'm like, hey, dude, that's my lamp. And he looks at me and goes, it's not yet, but The time to buy it's when you see it. And that's the first time I ever heard that line. Taught me an important lesson about life.
And that was what, probably 25 years ago or something? It was a long time ago. I knew who Danielle was before the garage sale because she was always the interesting, artsy, beautiful girl that would walk around downtown, sometimes skateboarding, sometimes riding a bicycle, and she was always capturing everybody's attention with the way she was dressed and just how creative she always was in our little tiny town. So everybody knew who Danielle was, and so when I saw her at the garage sale and I saw that she had a lamp, I was like, okay, well, you know, obviously I got some competition here. I got to step up the game.
But then you decide to bring
So
that
intimidated,
sparkly
weren't ya?
personality, to the series. So how was your beginning as co-hostess of the TV show, Danielle? How was the experience at the beginning?
How was my beginning? I don't think
Yeah.
they really wanted me on there. I think Mike was like, hey, you got to have my friend Danielle. She knows some stuff about some stuff. And they trusted him. So the beginning was just Mike pretty much advocating for me and sticking up for me all the time. I mean, the network was great. They're fine. But Mike was always like pushing the idea of me being involved. And really, he must have sold it to him good.
Excellent. So we know that you love Latin America and you love tattoos, but your muse happens to be Frida Kahlo. Do you mind to share your tattoo with everyone on camera, please?
So my friend Alex Strangler, who's a Mexican tattoo artist, did this tattoo. Okay, wait. Here we go.
It's the other side, yes.
This is the, I'll try to get it all in there. There we go.
It's perfect,
There's beautiful
perfect.
Frida. Yeah.
So tell us about it. Why you like Frida so much? And why you like Mexico so
Because
much?
I was, so my father used to do a little bit of missionary work in Mexico from time to time. So I was familiar with Mexico. I'd been there a couple times. And at like learning about Mexico, I learned about Frida Kahlo. My mom loves art, and she loved Georgia O'Keeffe, and she loved Frida Kahlo. And so I kind of started to learn the history of Frida through my mom, because she used to call me Little Frida because I was a wild child.
What?
So that's kind of where I fell in love with Frida. And Frida's dad was a photographer. So I also have him on this arm.
Perfect. Nice.
Because my father
Nice
is
ink.
a photographer. So that was kind of the connection
Okay,
to Mexico.
Mike, we have two questions before we go to the Q&A. Mike, we are about to celebrate the 300th episode of American Peace. It's truly unbelievable. It's truly legendary. Do you ever, when you have this crazy idea of a pilot, even dream about having 300 episodes in a hit series around the world?
You know, before you and I started talking, you were showing footage from what I shot when I was pitching the show, and footage from the early years of the show. And, you know, it's wild watching your life's work being captured on film of something that you love so much, what you love to do, and to do it with friends and people around you that care. I always thought that it could be a success in the U.S. Obviously, that's why I pitched it for so long and why I stood behind it for so many years. But I never, in a million years, would ever imagine that it would be a success around the world the way it is. I mean, now we're in 63 countries, and you know, here I am talking to you, and I feel that the show is really, I always say it's a show about all of us, because we all love story. We all are treasure hunters in our hearts and in our minds, whether or not we are pickers or not. And I feel that it's something that a lot of people can connect to, because it almost, we've created a family, and we've shared our journey with people, and they can relate to it because I think they see themselves in us, You know, me and Danielle and Frank were always the underdogs, and we always had to earn and fight for everything that we got, you know, in life and in love and in business. And so now I've created a platform where we could show how dreams and possibilities are still something that can be captured if you work hard and believe in yourself.
You are a true inspiration for everyone out there. You have a dream and you make it happen, but it's a dream that keep on giving, because we are learning and we're having fun with each episode. So tell us, which one is the best story that you remember from all these 300 episodes of American Pickers?
There's so many. I mean, there's been younger people on the show. There's been obviously a lot of older people on the show. I think, you know, people that live simple lives, that don't need much and understand their journey and love their journey and appreciate life for what it is day to day. They don't live outside their world. They live in a world that they created. People like Mole Man or Hippie Tom or Hobo Jack. You know, those are the people that like have marched to the beat of their own drum and live their life in a way that that honors their past, their family, and their community. So I think, you know, for me, it's always the person that not afraid to be different, not afraid to be off the grid and live their life in a way that that they feel is beautiful. And that to me is what the show is focused on. It's showing people different journeys and different paths, and that we don't always have to, you know, fit inside of a box to have a beautiful life.
I think this is a perfect introduction to Danielle. She doesn't need to fit in the picture. She needs to stand out from the picture. And one of the things that we love the most, Daniela, we have shared so many good times in Mexico and all over the place, and we love what you add to the show. Mike described it once as the glue of the show. What do you think about that? Are you truly the glue of this show?
Yeah, I think I was kind of born the glue of anything. Everybody kind of has their place and their spot, and I feel like that. I always feel it's the perfect spot for me. I like to put people together. I like to find people who have this thing and people who need this thing, and put them together and somehow, you know, just facilitate. I like to just facilitate. You know, that's what I'm best at, I think, in life, honestly. Just facilitating people getting together and collaborating and doing neat things. I like that.
And you do it so nicely, so nicely. One thing that we noticed is that in episode 297, we have one of your no hidden secrets at all that you like burlesque, and it's called the Queen of Burlesque. So tell us about that episode.
Oh, I actually have her right behind me, if you see. You see?
Uh-huh. Yes.
So that
perfect
episode was so special to me that I brought her home to pick. Oh, so anyway, I have a great friend who is a beautiful Mexican burlesque artist. She happens to live in Cleveland, and she comes across really incredible burlesque items for me from time to time. She came across this beautiful poster of Blaze Fury, who is a burlesque legend from, I mean, she traveled north to south and all over the country, all over the world. But when I found this poster, it spoke so much to burlesque history and to, you know, just Cleveland history. But I felt that it really spoke to me personally because it was so, it was in such a state of bad repair, and it really needed to be cleaned up. So since my mother and my father are both in photography, my mom used to colorize all of the black and white photos back when I was younger, and she taught me how to do it. So from my mother and father, I learned how to do that. So I've cleaned her, and I've started the colorization process, but I'm flying my parents out so that they can help me with the rest of it, because I feel like it would be a really neat heritage project for us.
It's a great idea. Now we're going to open for Q&As. Our media outlets from Latin America are dying to talk directly to you guys. So we want to open the mics for Q&A with Mike and Danielle.
Yes, we're gonna start
Mariana,
with
¿me ayudas?
Luciano.
¿Me pregunta?
Yes, it would be from Luciano Guaraldo from Brazil, UOL.
Excellent.
Hi, everyone. What I wanted to ask is, you guys been doing this for a while, and you're quite good at picking by now. But do you ever go to a barn or to a garage sale and it's complete dead end and absolutely nothing, not even junk, comes out of it? Just waste of time that you don't even bother put it on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's times that we'll go pick a place, and we don't find a lot of things, but the person's journey and they're such a character, their story is just as important as the item itself. Danielle and I were fortunate enough to meet a younger gentleman that lived in New Mexico, and he was restoring a smaller town, and most of the structures were made adobe style, and he was doing Airbnbs, but only for not only for, but specifically catered around artists. And we didn't buy a lot of stuff there, but we really captured the idea and a dream of someone that was really climbing a mountain. I mean, this gentleman didn't have a lot of money, but he had a lot of heart and he had a lot of soul. And so the space itself and him and his story became the treasure of that episode. So sometimes it's not really the item if you watch the show. It's really, really the people and the space, because, you know, we're taking people on a journey of traveling. And when they travel with us, they see a lot of things that they normally wouldn't see, not just items.
Next question, please.
Yes, from Argentina, Ale Rodríguez Bodat from Radio Nacional.
Gracias, Mariana. Gracias, Cesar. Hi, guys. How are you? It's a really pleasure for me.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Congrats
Hello.
on the 10 years and the 300th episode. So after 10 years, the TV show is still more interesting, still more fresh. What's the secret?
You want that, Danny?
Please tell me the
Love,
secret,
man. Love. That's what it is. No, it is. It's love for what you do. It's love for the people you work with. It's advocating for one another. It's hearing each other when there's a problem. It's working past those problems to try to find creative solutions. It's understanding what's happening in the world and kind of working within what's happening in the world and trying to keep it fresh. But it's interesting because we film these episodes and then it takes about 3 months for an episode to come out, right, after we film it. So the rate the world's moving right now, it's like, it's hard to keep up. So I'm glad that it's staying fresh. But I think really it's love for what you do. It's advocating for the people who make and help all of this happen. And it's, you know, really learning from our television audience and understanding through social media platforms and other platforms what y'all want to see.
Nice question, an even nicer answer.
Thank you very much.
Let's go with the next, Mariana.
Yes, it will be from Eduardo Gutierrez from Quien Magazine, Mexico.
Hi, hello, how are you? It's such a pleasure to talk to you. Well, I would like to know first, Mike, for you, how great was the thing that you discovered this passion through seek things in the trash first and then look in the history of the people. And for you, Danielle, I would like to know, you have the chance to being here in Mexico and visit the house of Frida Kahlo. How connected to you even more with her, and how do you feel about it? Thank you very much to the both of you.
For me, when I was younger, I was always digging in the trash because I was a treasure hunter, like most children are. They want to discover and find things and search out things. So I would find things in the garbage, and a lot of those things would be friends of mine, or they would be on my play pieces. When I was very little, I walked to school when I was 4, and I was picked on. And I was picked on so bad that I did not want to see other people when I walked to school. I tried to find routes on the way to school that I could walk where I didn't see anybody. And those routes were between people's houses, and they were in the alleys. So when I would walk by myself in the alleys and the garage doors were open and the garbage was there, and I was just mesmerized by the things that people would throw out. My mom was a single mom raising 3 children. We never got a dime from my father. And I saw things in the garbage that we couldn't afford. And so I would accumulate them and I would take them home. But it got to the point where I was fascinated with just about anything. And I remember after Halloween one year, I was probably 5 years old. I was walking in these alleys and I saw that people were throwing out their jack-o'-lanterns, their pumpkins. And I was amazed by that, because that's the coolest thing when you're a kid, when you approach some house, you know, to say trick or treat. So I got a wagon and I brought all those home to my fort behind my house. I didn't understand as a child that they rotted. So by the time they rotted and I couldn't get in my fort anymore because there were bees all over the place, I realized that they that they had an expiration date to them. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that as a child, I was always fascinated, like we all are, with story and pieces that we discover, and it just never left me. It was always part of my heart, and I'm glad that it didn't, because I feel like I'm living in a world sometimes that I feel special in, because I've created it myself. And when you're a collector, you surround yourself with older things that you love, and you can relive moments over and over again.
And we love to collect memories with you guys. Thank you so much. Next question, please.
Yes, from Colombia, Joaquín Lepeley of Cinema 100.
Nice to meet you.
Vamos.
What is the difference between What is the difference between trash and treasure? And tell me why you like old toys so much.
Well, look what I'm holding in my hand right now. I'm holding this toy airplane. I like old toys because they're memories from a past that our forefathers created. You know, I mean, this toy right here says Lindy on it. Obviously, it's a piece of memorabilia from Charles Lindbergh's epic flight. Toys hold history, not just in families, but they hold history in American history. I'm fascinated with anything from different time periods. So toys are just one thing. It could be furniture, it could be textiles, it could be pottery. You know, when you find something that's from a life lived before you, that is very, very in me and always will be.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Danielle, they ask you from Mexico, why you love Mexico so much again, and why your special connection with Mexico?
Oh, so I developed a special connection with Mexico because of my father's love for Mexico. He did some missionary work there when I was younger. I had been there a couple times because my parents took me, and there she really taught me about Frida Kahlo. And I spent my whole entire childhood envisioning going to Frida's house, Casa Azul. And it was the most incredible gift when Latin A&E actually took me to Casa Azul, and I got to experience it for myself and see that, you know, I had kind of blown up this image of Frida in my mind as like this superhuman kind of entity. And then actually seeing her home and seeing her bed and seeing her life and her clothes and her paintings and her paintbrushes, and it was, I mean, like, it's hard to even put into words. It was a revelation. It was a revelation, and I'll be eternally thankful for that. But I think that's my bond to Mexico is my love of Frida and Casa Azul.
Perfect. Thank you. Mariana, next question. Mike and Danielle are waiting.
Yes, from Brazil, Mariana Arrudas from Folha de San Pablo.
Hello.
Hello, how are you? I want to
Good.
know if you received some histories from your fans.
If we receive history from our fans?
Yes,
Yes, correct.
related to.
Yeah, I mean, we get fans that send us things like they can send us a motorcycle catalog, or Danielle might get a piece of clothing, or Frank might get a toy in the mail. You know, people, when they watch the show, they understand that we truly love what we do. It's not just a television show, it's actually a way of life for all of us. And we're very blessed that they would even send us something that meant so much to them and their family. So I think a lot of people are, you know, get to the point where they realize that they need these things to live beyond them, and they start thinking about what that journey should be. So yes, over the years, we've gotten some very interesting things, even some paintings and drawings and sculpture work and woodworking, and I mean, all different types of medium when it comes to art. And a lot of it is so heartfelt and very thoughtful. And every time I open some of it, I am amazed by it. But, you know, the stuff that really I connect to is when children send us things, because we get a lot of things from children, letters from them and drawings that they do, and telling us how much they like the journey that we're on with them. So that's probably what touches my heart the most, you know.
And it's neat when they send us
Thank you.
items that they've dug up. Right, Mike? Do you remember when the kids used to come into the store and they would bring up the bottles that they would dig up by the river, the glass bottles, and they bring those in and they tell us like the story of, and we pay them for each bottle? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mariana, more questions?
Yes, from Argentina, Gabriel Fresta from Radio Sónica.
Perfecto.
Hello.
Hello.
Bueno, yo cada vez que ustedes compran un objeto, hay una relación, cada vez que termina la compra hay una relación entre costo y beneficio. Los que seguimos el programa tenemos temor que de pronto haya una acumulación muy grande de objetos en los depósitos y que se les termine el dinero. ¿Cómo es esa relación entre compra y venta? Teniendo en cuenta, Mike, que sos la persona que con alegría toma el objeto, pero la que recibe el objeto en el depósito es Danielle.
He would like to know basically what's the cost-benefit relationship when you buy or when you obtain an artifact or product in the stores, because he's also very afraid as a fan that sometimes you keep buying, however, Danielle keep putting everything in the stores. Is any fear that you will become accumulator or a hoarder with so many stuff, or you actually able to sell the stuff very quickly and do business with it? They're wondering that. How do you get along with the purchases versus the sales itself?
Okay, so we have two stores. We have one in Iowa and one in Nashville. Both of those are in tourism destinations. And so we're very fortunate that we're in areas that people travel to. Some of the destination, and other times the community is. So we have a lot of traffic that go through these stores. In Nashville, we have up to 16 tour buses a day that will travel to our store in Nashville, because they're on a tour of Nashville itself, not just coming to us, but Nashville, different destination points. And a lot of people are fans of the show, so we don't really have a problem seeing things per se. I guess the other side of the question he was asking is, you know, when I find things, if I'm falling in love with them and describing them on camera the way I am, is it hard for me to sell? That is getting harder and harder for me to do, yes, because you know, my tastes have changed and I fall in love with things because of place and person. Sometimes it's not necessarily the item, it's like where I found it in the journey I was on when I did discover it. So I fall in love with items over and over again. And I've said on the show, sometimes I call what I have to do would break up with them, you know, but I'm in a house right now that a lot of people, when they come into it, they're like, is this a museum or is this a house? Especially my daughter that's 9 years old and her friends. But I've always been someone that I was fascinated by history, and I've always been someone that has collected to the point where I've created my own little world with it. So a hoarder, I wouldn't say that. I think my tastes are more stylish, and I can still walk through my house, and it's not like I'm walking around with Kleenex boxes on my feet and I'm out of my mind for these things. I just really have a genuine love for them.
Check with him 10 years though.
Next question, please.
From Mexico, Enrique Cruz from La Crónica newspaper.
Hi, Mike. Hi, how you doing, guys?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, guys. And I would like to ask you, I know, Mike, as you said a few minutes ago, that you are finding history. You're not only finding items from the garbage, but you are also finding history, like the example of you put of the Bradley motorcycles. And I would like to ask you that, how does it feel to be part of the history? Because you're finding things that now are like physical examples from a certain period of history. You know, you're finding something from the early century, the past century, and how does it feel that you are not you are giving to the people things that you can before you can only see on books and magazines and now you're part of that history. How does it feel that, Mike?
Well, I mean, the best part of that history is that we're documenting it on television. You know, all of these journeys are being filmed. So it's one thing to find an item that has never been found before, and every once in a while that happens in our business. It's not like that happens all the time. But when you document it on film, then that becomes a lineage within itself. You know, I mean, I think about people that will watch this show in 20 years and 30 years when maybe a lot of these items that we're finding now can't be found anymore. You know, the journey that we've taken for the last 11 years now filming the show has been one of the hardest things that all of us have ever done. Danielle and Frank and I and myself, none of us, you know, we just never been on camera before. So we were kind of learning as we went. And so I think when we find something that's so unique and so different, our reaction on film is truly sincere, and I think that people can understand our emotions more and how we connect, because you know, you got to remember, a lot of people, I'd say probably maybe 80% of people that watch our show, they don't collect anything. They collect nothing. They're interested in it because of the journey, the stories, the characters that are on it, us being characters within ourselves on it. And so, you know, the documentation of all of this is really what's fascinating to me now after doing it for so long, because we've got, you know, over 300 shows now that that all of these stories are being documented.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Excellent. Next question,
People,
please.
are people getting into fights? Let me take a look because I have the
From
earphone.
Rodrigo Lara from
The
Section
comments.
Cars of UOL Brazil. Rodrigo?
Hello.
Brazil.
Hello?
Rodrigo, fala. Você aí. Next question,
Well,
Mariana.
we will-
Until Rodrigo
Yes,
comes.
from
No.
Oh, he's here.
I'm talking. Danielle, Mike, nice to meet you, and congratulations on the 10 years of the show. It was an awesome time. I'd like to know what is the rarest and the most expensive car you have ever encountered?
Mike.
The rarest, most expensive would probably be, you know, maybe a Porsche Speedster, something from, you know, before 1960, like 55, 57. That's a very expensive car now. We found a lot of early cars. I'd say the Cadillac that we found in the show, the Madam X, that was a prototype. That car was extremely rare. It had a V8 in it, and that was a very rare car because obviously it was a prototype, and there was documentation of that car with its serial number and the condition of the car. And I think, I don't know if you guys have seen the episode yet where it ended up in a museum in Utah. So that was a very rare car itself. A lot of the cars that we find, I think, are interesting to people because it's in America here, when they watch the show, it's something that they can find themselves, you know, 1930s and 1940s cars. And then obviously the uniqueness of each car with a person that owned it over the years, making it their own, that can be pretty epic and different itself.
Thank you. Muy obrigado.
Now,
Next
Omar
question, Daniela,
Alvarado.
please.
Omar Alvarado from Travesía Pop, Colombia.
Hello.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Buenos días. Bueno, pues, good morning a Mike y a Daniel.
Hello.
Mi pregunta es que bueno, a través del programa ustedes han encontrado muchos tesoros, pero quisiera saber si con alguno de ellos se han quedado o alguno que los haya atrapado, que los haya enamorado de los que hemos visto en el programa, que ustedes dijeron, bueno, eso lo quiero no para vender como parte del negocio, sino como parte de mi colección personal. Y la segunda es, ¿cuál es el tesoro que más desean o han deseado encontrar y que saben que todavía está en la carretera y que todavía lo siguen buscando?
The questions from Colombia are, the first question is like, we know that you have found so many treasures through your road trips around the time. Which one of those you decide to keep because they were so close to your heart?
Too many.
For me, it was a Royal Pioneer motorcycle. It's actually in my living room right over there, and it's something that I see every day when I walk in there. That was bought in Florida, and it was in pieces. It was made in 1910, and there are only 4 of those motorcycles known to exist. All of them are restored except for the one I own. It's unrestored, and that was easy for me to find and something that I live with every day.
For me, it's my burlesque memorabilia. Yeah, for me, my burlesque memorabilia, like roller skating memorabilia because of my years with roller derby. Those 2 things are hard to get rid of for sure. And like, I'm sure that I probably will never get rid of Blaze Fury.
And the second question was, which one is a treasure that you know is out there that you really, really want it and you don't have it yet?
For me, it's a Black Hawk motorcycle.
Ooh, yeah.
Go ahead.
A motorcycle, which one?
A Black Hawk motorcycle. It was made in Rock Island, Illinois. There's been 2 engines found. No one's ever found it. I'd love to be able to find that someday and be the person to own such an amazing piece of American transportation history. And it's from our community where we're from. It's from the area that we're from. So I think that would be something that I always dreamed of finding.
What about you, Danielle?
I have a dream of finding one piece of a costume set that I purchased about 5 years ago, and I've purchased the entire costume set over the last 5 years, piece by piece. And there's one piece that's missing, and in this incredible story, this burlesque dancer named Lorraine Gale Smith, who used to work in the combat zone in Boston, was murdered the night she got off of work. And the one piece I'm missing from her collection is the black ostrich feather dressing gown she wore on stage that night. I have the white one she wore, but I can't find the black one, and I'm wondering what happened to it. So it's very specific, but that's what I would love to find.
So it's the Black Hawk motorcycle for Michael, and it's the black ostrich feather for Danielle. Perfect. Let's go to the next question.
Yeah.
Yes, from Argentina, Leticia Pomo from Caras Magazine.
Hello.
Hola, muy buenas tardes. Qué lindo conocerlos, Daniela. Daniel, te quería preguntar a vos, ¿es innato el valor de las cosas? ¿Se aprende a conocer, a saber el valor de cada uno de los objetos?
Danielle, this question is for you from Argentina, from Caras Magazine. She would like to know, is something that you learn or something that's already inside of you to give and to know the price of the objects and the artifacts they found around the way?
No, honestly, the thing that I learned from Mike is to pick what you love. And if you pick what you love, you can never go wrong. Because if you get stuck with it, then you can just love it in your house, right? So if you pay too much money, at least you love what you picked. And it does happen sometimes where you pay a little bit too much. As Mike says again, like you pay for your mistakes, you pay for your education. Nothing's free in this piece of vintage. It takes money to learn how to make money sometimes. So it's not something that's born into me. I specifically know burlesque history and circus and sideshow history. And so that stuff I can be sharp with, but there's a lot of stuff that I have to actually look.
Thank you. ¿Hay alguna otra pregunta más? Creo que de Brasil, Mariana.
Yes, Ederly Fortunato from Jornal 140 Brazil.
Hello.
Brazil.
Hello, everybody. Yes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My question is about the older people we see every time, in the way I feel a lot of respect. You respect them a lot. And also, Mike, you know a lot about every object, every toy, every motorcycle. And I want to know how much you have to study to know so much about the objects, and also about your care and respect for the other people who you visit. I feel a lot that you respect them a lot. I'd like to know about that. Thank you.
Well, thank you for saying that. Ever since I was young, I think I never really remember being young. I've always had an old soul, and a lot of the people that I would congregate towards in my neighborhood growing up were older people that were always sitting on their porches, especially the ones that treated me as an equal and not treated me like a child. They would talk to me and have conversations with me like I was their age, like an old friend. And so, as I get older and my mother gets older and the people around me get older, my mentors, get older, I realize that life is short and very fleeting, and having children, that kind of changes your perspective on time. All of the people that have filmed with us over the years, they're the ones that have kept this show on the air, really, truly. We've been the conduit for them, to be able to tell their story and find these items, in their possessions. But their stories and are really what I think people tune in for. So for us, we're the vehicle for them to just express themselves. We're giving them a chance to express themselves in a way that no one else has ever done before. And so for me, the older people that we film with are just as precious, or way more precious than the items that we find them are. Some of my best friends in this community are in the 70s, where I live here now. So it's a level of respect and care that I think that we all need to reflect on, as we live our lives and grow together.
Now, we want to say, first and foremost, we want to thank you, because I think it was a very special encounter. For the first time, we were able not only to find the TV characters, but especially amazing people with amazing hearts. It was very nice, and we feel very privileged, Mike and Danielle, that you share stories about your childhood, but especially your mothers. It seems that both of you have been influenced by your mothers in a very special way that we can feel in our hearts. And also, we want to tell you that I know you have spent more than 20 years looking for treasures in all kind of places, but you found more than 70 million treasures in Latin America, because we are more than 70 million fans that we love every episode of American Pickers, and we want to follow you
And we
all
love
the
you.
way, wherever you are.
We love you. We
So
appreciate you.
please
Appreciate your support so
provide us
much.
your final words before we say goodbye. We want to listen and hear from you, Mike. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. We're speaking in every language that we have, but especially from the language of the heart. We want to say thank you for making history. Thank you for creating these memories for us and with us. Mike, you go first, please.
Thank you for saying that. It's an honor to be here. I was never much of a history student myself. I was always someone that learned hands-on, and I was always someone that learned from people that cared and had a passion. If someone had a passion and they were willing to explain and express themselves to me, then I always wanted to learn from somebody like that. I've been very fortunate in my life to be able to have the platform that I do to share stories. Really, I've truly believe that this is a show about all of us. And today, having these interviews with all of you is really a beautiful thing, because you know, with the world the way it is right now, and the fast pace that we all live in, and I think we forget that you know, we're all really truly here to take care of each other. And so it is a blessing to me that I'm in everyone's homes there, in your hearts, and trust me, you guys are in our hearts too. I think about now as we make the show, all the people from all over to watch it, and how important it is for all of us to understand our community and our family's history.
I mean, through this pandemic, you know, you were our eyes out there, and you were able to tell us stories that we were not able to reach. So we really appreciate it more than anything and more than everything, these special stories. And that the emotional connection you have with Latin American Brazil is very special to our hearts as well. Danielle, your turn, please.
I just cut. Mike, you made me emotional. So I guess the last year has just been really mind-blowing, right? And it's really given me an opportunity to kind of look back on the last 10 years, 11 years, 12 years, really, that we've been putting this together, so that you can see for the last 10 years. And just seeing how much each of us has grown and changed and embraced change, embraced the discomfort of learning when we're wrong about one thing and we need to course correct and figure out a better way of doing things, with business, with relationships, with all of it. And I think that that's what I'm the most thankful for, is that everybody has watched us go through all of these crazy changes, and that we have been able to build a world that we love and have had so much support from everybody in the process of it. Think that what Mike said about really understanding and respecting the elders in your community is huge. You're not always going to see eye to eye. You're not always going to understand each other's stories, but the stories are there for a reason. And it's good to listen to each other, and it's good to be able to vocalize and learn from each other and teach each other, and not ever feel like you're the smartest person in the room. Because if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So I think this is about community. And that's my takeaway from the last year, that this is about community. And I'm really thankful to have the community with Mike. Still one of my best friends after all these years, and that's so rare. And really fortunate to have such a wonderful audience and support from all of you. Y'all have treated me so kind and lovingly, and I just am thankful every day.
Guys, if I could just a couple of words, so just a couple of closing words, just let you guys have your team. We have our team here. It's not just myself and Cesar and Miguel. We have a whole bunch of people throughout Latin America that our goal is to take care of you guys as a show, as individuals. You know, we present you and we represent you in a way that we believe that you would want to be presented and represented. You know, from day one, we take a lot of care. We make sure that everything we communicate to the journalists, to the public, is done with a lot of care, with a lot of heart. And there's a lot of people, and you know, we have offices in Mexico, Sao Paulo, Buenos Aires, Bogota, even Caracas, all our voiceover people, everybody that represents you. You know, they take heart at the work that they do, and we just hope that we've made you quite famous in Latin America. You know, you've made yourself famous, but our team has had a lot to do with making American Pickers a household name in Latin America. So thank you for your time, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for
believing in us. Thank you for believing.
Don't worry, Mike and Danielle. We are already preparing the tickets. Whenever you're ready to come to Miami or to Latin America, we will be your travel agency. So thank you so much. Blessings to all. And remember, next week we're going to see each other to watch History, Mark of the Empire History 2. But please don't miss, no se pierda. Yes, vamos a tener el evento de Misterios de Asia directamente de Singapur a las 6 de la tarde. No se pierda American Pickers, Cazadores de Reliquias en América Latina en la temporada número 17, episodio 300 muy pronto. Sigamos haciendo historia con el mejor entretenimiento. Gracias y hasta la próxima. Gracias por el apoyo. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
We love you.
Bye, guys.
We love you guys.
Aunque parezca cosa de niños, coleccionar buenos recuerdos es un trabajo serio. Mike y Frank tienen todos los juguetes, así como lo oyes.
Bolas, artefolclóricos, bicicletas, motocicletas, tractores de pedal, objetos militares, bioportazones, pistolas de juguete.
Cazadores de Tesoros. Nuevos episodios. Domingo a las 11:30 de la noche. Disponible en History Play y History On Demand. Simples trucos que todo amante de los viajes tiene que conocer.
Tengan cuidado, cinturones de seguridad.
Saca provecho a tu GPS.
Siga hacia el oeste por 2.974 kilómetros.
Comparte con alguien tu felicidad.
No existe pie grande, amigo. Supongo que me aguardas la fiesta ahora y dirás que no existe el monstruo del lago Ness.
Vive recuerdos inolvidables.
Ha llegado a su destino.
Dijo que tenías el primer Stan Lee a vapor y está adentro.
Está adentro. Es increíble.
Aquí, justo aquí.
Allá está.
Cazadores de Tesoros. Todos los martes a las 10:35 de la noche. Disponible en History Play y History On Demand.
Cuando crees que has terminado, encuentras otra cosa. Frank, ayúdame con esto.
Tiene toneladas de cosas.
Oh, sí. La tengo.
Vamos. 1, 2, 3. Listo, adelante.
Este cartel abre el apetito.
Adiós.
Yo le advertí a la gente el peligro que había en algunas calles.
Trabajé con los primeros automóviles modelo T.
Yo jugaba con los niños en los años 30.
Sería bueno que las cosas hablaran, ¿no? Hasta entonces, acude a Frank y Mike para conocer las memorias de los objetos.
Son geniales porque tenías que tener imaginación. Volarlos por el aire.
Porque el verdadero valor de una pieza...
735.
Muy bien, está en su historia. Cazadores de Tesoros. Solo por History.